Hi everybody, this is Terry. Welcome back to Crafty Book Nerd. I'm so glad you're here. In this video, I'm going to be sharing the physical books that I had that I read in April. In part one, I shared the audiobooks and the ebook, so make sure you check out that. I'll leave the link in the description down below. Now I'm going to talk about the physical books that I have. There's another 5 books to talk about today. But first, let's start with our quote of the day. Good words are worth much and cost little. So as I said, April was a good reading month for me. I managed to read 10 books, so that was pretty exciting. So the first book I want to talk about is River Sing Me Home by Eleanor Shear. This was the book of the month for, now I forgot what month it was. They always tell you what month it is. This was for February. This one was for February, and I finally got around to reading it. So let's talk about it. This is a story about Rachel, and it's during a time of slavery, and Rachel is a mother, and all of her children have been sold, and they're all over in different places. And one thing that happened is that when slavery was abolished in England, the Caribbean did not adhere to that abolishment. They told their slaves in order for them to be free, they had to work 6 more years. If they escaped, the punishment would be severe. But Rachel wanted to find her children, and she decided to take her chances. And so she does escape and goes on a hunt for her children. So this story is a story of her journey. We travel with her and go through some things that are not so much fun as she thinks she's about to be caught. And so it gets tense at times. The story is based on real women that did what Rachel did. It's very gut-wrenching, and I did give it 4 stars. I highly recommend it. My quote from this book is, "When they sang, we heard them. We sang with them and welcomed this new life into a world that is cruel but has love in it too, if you know where to look. This is how we are remembered, in snatches of song, in dreams, in the smile that passes between a mother and a child. These are the parts of us that cannot be destroyed. These are the parts of us that feed the roots and keep them strong. The soil is fertile, our tree grows on." And that's River Sing Me Home. The next book I want to share with you is Lessons in Chemistry, and this one was being talked about everywhere, and so I decided to check it out. It does meet my Pop Sugar Challenge of read something that takes place in the decade you were born, and I was born in the 60s, and that's when this story takes place. Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmus. I really thought this was going to be a 5-star for me, but it fell a little bit short and ended up being a 4-star. It is about Elizabeth, who wants to be a female chemist in a man's world, and the struggles that she deals with during the 60s when women were trying to express themselves and find their own ways, have children, have careers. And so that's the main theme of this book. Even though there is a little bit of romance in here, that's not really the main theme of the book. But there is a man named Calvin who is a Nobel Prize winner, and he does fall in love with Elizabeth, but he falls in love with her mind because she is so smart. And in order for her to keep going in her field, they ask her to do a TV show called Supper at 6. She is not too crazy about doing this TV show. She wants to be a chemist. But what she does in her TV show with the cooking is she brings in scientific elements into the cooking recipe. She talks about things that are scientific, and that way women can be perceived in a different way. So it's a story about women, the struggle in the 1960s to have a family, like I said, and a career, and most of all to gain power in a man's world. Elizabeth is very determined to become a chemist, and I love her no-nonsense way of living. It was good. I gave it 4 stars. And here's my quote. "Whenever you feel afraid, just remember, courage is the root of change, and change is what we're chemically designed to do. So when you wake up tomorrow, make this pledge: no more holding yourself back. No more subscribing to others' opinions of what you can and cannot achieve. And no more allowing anyone to pigeonhole you into useless categories of sex, race, economic status, and religion. Do not allow your talents to lie dormant, ladies. Design your own future. When you go home today, ask yourself what you will change and then get started. Good book. The next book was a book recommended from a friend. My friend Brenda recommended I read Someday Maybe by Oni Nwabali. I'm sure I butchered that big time. Sorry. This was a debut novel, and the interesting thing about it is it did not read like a debut novel. She did an outstanding job. The writing was so good. I felt like I was living the story with our main character, Eve. Eve is a young woman, and we follow her on her journey through a terrible loss. Her Nigerian family helps her, and it was it was tough to read because of the grief and how grief was dealt with in this story. And so that is a trigger. If you've recently lost someone and you're grieving, you may not want to pick this book up until you're kind of, in a better place, because it was very gut-wrenching and hard to read at times. But I did give it 4 stars, and I really did enjoy it. My quote is, "Be truthful, say what you mean, and mean what you say. Don't ignore the given circumstances." And that's Someday Maybe. Next, another book recommended by a friend that's in my book club. Finley Donovan is Killing It by Ella Cosmano. Wasn't sure about this one at first. It is advertised as a mystery, and I do like mysteries, and so I thought, let me give it a try, because I do trust the person who recommended it to me to recommend good books. It was a fun read. There was a mystery in it, but it had a humor to the whole mystery, which was fun. It's about a single mom, and she is trying to, get her life together and deal with her ex-husband and taking care of her kids and not having a lot of money and all these things. And she's gets mistaken for a contract killer. Someone thinks she's a contract killer and asks them to kill someone for her. And somehow she gets drawn into this mystery while trying to take care of her child and write a book at the same time, because Sylvia is an author and her publicist keeps bothering her that they need her to get some, words to them for her next book. Well, what she does is she takes what's happening in her real life and translates that into the book she's writing. So it's really interesting, and I did enjoy it, and I gave it 4 stars. And I will be reading the next book about Finley Donovan because I liked her character. She's fun. And my quote from this book is, "Fantasies were where I let myself calculate how many economic size bags of Huggies, lean cuisines, and baby wipes I could buy for $50,000. It was fun. And my last physical book that I read for the month of April was Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell. This is a historical fiction, and I did give it 4 stars. It's about William Shakespeare and his wife Agnes. Of course, it is fiction, but those are the characters in the book, and the children, the 3 children, Susanna and the twins, Judith and Hamnet. And it's about Hamnet's death in 1596 with the plague that went around. It's a story of how the whole world was trying to survive this Black Death, as they called it during this time. There are 2 different narratives in this story, which I enjoyed. The first one are the events that lead up to Hamnet's death and how that played out. And the second one describes the events between Hamnet's parents when they met and about his birth and their relationship. It had a lot of descriptive writing in it, and I did enjoy it. So if you're into William Shakespeare, and you might enjoy this book, pick it up. And my quote from this book is, "She, like all mothers, constantly cast out her thoughts like fishing lines toward her children. So that wraps up my April reads. Don't forget to watch part 1, and I'll be coming to you soon with what I plan to read in May. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, Crafty Book Nerd, and share with your friends. Everybody have a great day.